I would wager. Headphones are a bit weird. I can't really hear. My, you can hear me okay anyway. I'm doing something
Yep,
wrong.
that's fine.
Yeah, great. There's something wrong my end with that doesn't matter as long as you can hear me. Yeah. Um, yeah, so we'll see what comes up. See what questions arise or comments or conversation.
Hey, Kenneth.
Ryan, how you doing?
Yeah, doing good, surprisingly, because about 2 hours ago I was feeling like the opposite, which is just so strange how it goes. But um, no, it just occurred to me there, like when you started the meeting and started talking, it was a bit different than I'd experienced it before. Like it was just so obvious that this isn't even like a thing. Like
Mm,
it's not a thing, and it's just yeah. I was just categorizing it as like a thing in my head before. Like, okay, this
yeah.
is like a certain type of activity that I'm now doing.
Yeah, of course.
But
Yeah. That's the way it is. That's the way it is when there's a sense of separation. Everything is a thing.
mm,
So there's a like from the object you can hold in your hand or the car you have outside or whatever to the experience of the Zoom meeting is a thing. And it's something that there's a real it's real and there's this sense of participating in it or whatever. Yeah, but it's not because
yeah,
there are no things like um we know this we know this from science already. There are no things. There's just aliveness, and aliveness then will appear as whatever it's appearing as. Zoom meeting in this case.
mm,
But it's not happening. That's the other thing I would say is that sense that you had of logging in and that was different. For me, what that is it can be is the shift between it being real and it's really happening to actually nothing's happening. There's nothing happening ever. It's appearing to as a Zoom meeting, fine, but
yeah,
it's similar to how sometimes people see a speaker as having something they don't have and um, maybe being special, maybe not, I don't know, but sometimes maybe having something they don't have and being a little bit special. And it's incredible how that can just it's gone. You hear that from different speakers, especially people who've been going to them for years. Um, and then they can just say they it's like and it's like that. It's like someone looks a certain way and then like it's all over. It's all over. It's like it's just a body. There's nobody in there. There's nobody special. There's just what's appearing to happen. And then we narrate everything then. We everything is woven into some sort of narrative of, you know.
yeah. I don't know.
Uh, oh, of course you don't. There's nothing to know. Like, an aspect of it is then that if you feel like you're living your life, then you'll attend a thing called a Zoom meeting or whatever, or a different kind of thing. But you'll always trying to be getting something out of everything. You know, what's in this for me? Why am I spending my time here? Um, and that can all collapse because there is no time. You're not there to spend time, and there's nothing to get out of anything.
Hey, Kenneth.
Hi, Lauren, how
It's
you?
Lauren. I'm good, thanks. Um, so the appearance of the recognition of patterns, is that like, is there any legitimacy to that? Like, um, do you think like that patterns have like a force?
Um, I don't know about having a force. Certainly, aliveness appears as patterns. You know, it also appears as um, frequencies, vibrational frequencies, and um, waves, and whatever. Um, I just see it as the way that energy seems to be configured and appears to move, and so on.
Yeah, I find that interesting. Someone else I've been enjoying listening to in the same genre um, has been saying a lot that it's like a magnet. You know, it could just be attraction or repulsion. And like the the apparent journey that brought me to, you know, this meeting um, is trying to understand how energy works.
Mm.
You know, and but then this meeting is saying, well, it doesn't matter because
Yeah,
it,
well,
there's no value.
yeah. Um, like any understanding that you would arrive at would be an abstraction, really, no matter what it is. Um,
Ah,
yeah.
so
See, I feel like studying a thing called energy and how energy works requires this kind of stepping back and identifying a thing called energy. There's no thing called energy. Um, I think that maybe some of the more modern discoveries are just more or less peeling back what it isn't, because and maybe pulling back or revealing the emptiness of certain paradigms and theories and things that are very, I think it was the last one we were talking about, like energetically, there's this shift out of one world um, view and then into another part one, and that's reflected in everything. So it's from a Newtonian kind of science, this, objects and things, and um, into a different kind of view of how things appear to work. Um, I don't think the human brain can hold how things work. You can have an abstraction and that's it. Or you can be more clearer as to what it isn't, maybe. That's how I would view it.
Almost like the impossibility of approaching what is from the perspective of what is, right?
Yeah, it's
Like,
impossible. Like it's like to really to understanding and modeling is
mhm.
appears to happen, but it is still just that. It is a model, you know,
Yeah,
just as like just as really there's not a separate you, but for in order for it to be this separate you, the appearance of this separate you, it's this energetic sense of detachment away from aliveness to be your own aliveness. And then in that kind of gap, then there's this abstraction in which this model of you lives. Because and then it feels completely full then it feels whole and full because it's a closed loop or a closed model. And then the model is trying to see outside the model, you
right.
know. And like that's what a lot of these guys are saying now. A lot of these scientists are saying about these themes, about space and time and all of that, is that we're using the model of space and time to try and see that there's not space and time. Whereas what we get is more space and time, and it's not,
Right.
so it's the exact same really as when the individual tries not to be an individual or thinks that they can get to their own absence through some sort of process as outlined in Advaita Vedanta or non-duality or something. um and
The it's like, I've been going into, I have a big transaction taking place, like I'm buying a house, and so and by the way, it's not easy, but uh there's like, this accounting document, and it's when you were saying what you were saying, what was coming to my mind is like, you can pencil everything out, but there's always going to be the remainder of the lead that was used for that calculation. You know what I mean? Like there's always like this added, like the cost of the paper, or like, there's just this extra little thing that is always the hint that like, nope, you're not actually seeing it because you're just seeing through the model,
yes,
you know?
yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's you're as an individual, there's no individual, but as an individual, you can only if in your knowing you can only see your abstraction or model of what you call reality. Now, it's I think a lot of the more exciting discoveries, a lot of them are kind of seeing what it isn't, and there's an energy to the illumination that something is just a theory or is and we've been using it and thinking that it's a reality, and it's not actually
Right.
like that. Like, say the one that everyone goes to, the kind of go-to one is the one that we thought the sun rotated around the earth, so the earth was in the middle. And I don't know how accurate that is. I think it's only just a slice of um apparent time, really, because I think there was lots of civilizations that didn't think that the sun went around the earth. The Mayans and the Incas, for instance, were quite clear that it didn't, but Then we go on to in our apparent history that we believe that we're the center of the universe. And then there's an energy to illuminating that we're not actually. And if you think about it, then also nothing changes at all because we were never the center of the universe, you know?
Yeah.
And so
Interesting.
like a lot of this meeting that we do and this conversation really like that's kind of what it's doing in
Ah,
a sense is people are coming with questions and there appears to be an answer, but tightly held belief systems and worldviews and all of these things can just unravel. And
Mm.
that's really from conversation. And conversation is an illumination that what I take to be true and real is actually a narrative. But that's not a goal of the meeting, but it's a feature of the meeting because really the meeting is shared without agenda, and it can be that this tightly held sense of you can appear to unravel. But really that whole thing is just energetic, you know.
This reminds me of two things, if I can butt in actually. One, just a couple of nights ago, we were watching quite an old documentary now, 2011, but it's called Everything and Nothing. So
Oh.
my husband suggested it, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. Anyway, it's presented by Jim Al-Khalili. I don't know if you know him. He's a sort of very well-known scientific presenter. And it's basically about getting down to what nothing is. And then, wait for it, they discover that nothing is not utterly empty. There's
Mm.
something in nothing. But on the way, there's lots of things that are beautifully described, including the best idea that the universe is 13.7 billion years old,
Mm.
which I have to say just sounds really peculiar. I mean, I've
Mm.
got no idea whether it was right or wrong, but we've had that around for a while. All of a sudden, it thought, well, that sounds a bit balmy. But anyway, but I've seen this also. I heard another lecture, I think one of the sort of Royal Institution lectures, and actually, there was a moment where they took a vacuum cube, and this guy is describing you take everything you possibly can out, and then they're able to image what's left, and it's represented as sort of changing colours and things. And somehow it suddenly made me really, I found myself crying. This was extraordinary somehow, this image. But anyway, so that was one thing. And the other thing, when you were talking, is that apparently the old model of everything revolving around the earth, the sun moves around the earth, and apparently that is not untrue. It can kind of fit Newtonian physics, but it's just a far less elegant model than we revolve around the sun.
Mm. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
suppose, everything being relative, obviously both can sort of happen, can't they? It's like you never quite know whether one train's stationary and at a station and the other one's pulling away. You see what
Mm.
I mean? They're obviously, but I just thought that was really interesting. The sun being at the center is a way more elegant model, but actually you can, if you make it complicated enough, you can actually
Mm.
fit the laws of physics around the opposite.
Yeah, because and
I thought it was
that's
interesting.
actually how things are set up at the moment in this theater, this dualistic dream, in that what people are under the illusion that there's authority, right? And then it really feels like there is authority. And then that authority is really it's a loop, it's a closed loop that will continually feed itself and model model what it wants to model. And that's what the reality we appear to live in. And then there's an energy around the consensus around it, which is control narratives are fed and controlled
Yeah,
because they're
yeah,
inextricably imbued with agenda. You can't take the
yeah.
two of them apart. So
Uh,
for that example about the sun and the moon and the sun and the earth, it would have been at a certain point heresy to say that the heresy just because of the religious scaffolding that was put around that and
Yeah.
it was intertwined into a religious belief system, and then you were burned at the stake, or you were it wasn't like nowadays where it's career suicide to challenge certain narratives. You were probably going to be physically, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
was, and really, um, it's quite incredible to me that a lot of people don't realize when they're presented with this is what they've decided is happening here and there. If you drill into it to any degree, it's usually some sort of model.
Yeah.
Like, it is a model, and the model can be done, like you were saying, the model can be worked one way or another way or another way, but which result do you think is going to be chosen? The result which props up the theater that we
Or the biggest
are.
consensus,
Yeah,
really.
but it's not a consensus though. It's an illusion that it's consensus. The illusion is that there's a thing called neutral model making, just based on everyone's best interests. It's a complete illusion. That's not the way it is,
No, I
because
don't mean by consensus. I mean it's the one that most so-called scientists agree with.
yeah, but the that depends on who's funding the research and all of that, and
Oh,
who's
sure,
got the. That's
sure.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's got
Right.
this illusion. It's very clever though. It's got this illusion that there's just this huge world of scientists that are working on things. They
Yeah,
all agree, and what we have is, and then you have phrases like "follow the science," which
yeah, yeah,
people say.
yeah.
So what I'm saying is, like, okay, in simple terms, what I'm saying is, it's all a narrative. It's all a narrative. It's all a model, but the realness of it is from you feeling like an individual who lives in knowing. And when you feel you're living your life, then there is an authority then, and this authority then has better access to better information,
Yeah,
and
bigger
then they
telescopes.
decide they set what's true or what
Yeah,
isn't true.
yeah, yeah. No, exactly. I mean,
That's the reality and that's why I've continually said, especially the last few years, there's a very obvious invitation to see that everything is empty, because it's a narrative to fit whatever the agenda is that's there. There's nothing scary about that. I think it's quite liberating, actually, but some people find that absolutely terrifying, and so they're less inclined to critical thinking and more inclined to
mm.
safetyism and kind of going with the.
No, I mean I mean, for me, it took a long time to realize that these are only models.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Would say it's only a model, and I'm thinking, what do you mean? It's surely that it is the way it is. But
yeah,
actually, the fact that they're only models is it's just interesting. You know, science.
yeah,
That's how science
absolutely, yeah.
evolves, and it can be fascinating. But when you can supposedly have all this very sophisticated science and then come out with a statement like the universe is 13.7 billion years old, I mean, it sounds a bit comical, actually.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a story. It's a
yeah,
narrative. Yeah,
yeah.
and what happens is with narratives get fixed. They get embedded,
Mm.
and the more embedded they are, the more agendas are fixed into them. So
Sure.
that the longer they take to.
The more funding you get, and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
the longer they take to fall apart. Like, for instance, I'm trying to think of a random example. Butter being bad for you, um, was known, but in the 1970s, that butter was not bad for you. It was completely proven that it wasn't bad for you. Or very shortly after the kind of the all those spreadable butters came out, it was proven categorically it's all a bunch of bullshit. But
Apparently.
there was too much money in these, because the food industry is very, very powerful, and all of those mechanisms, all the wheels were in motion. And then you'd imagine that would come out in a couple of years, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Probably took like the guts of 30 years, 25, 30 years.
Mm.
And that's what I'm saying is we take on these truths and narratives, and they get settled in
Yeah.
and embedded in. But like there's the possibility that we're discussing here is, it's not to go around proving everything wrong and show what's
You
right or
can't, can
whatever,
you?
because you can't. It's
Ultimately, you
just a
can't.
scene that everything is a story. And really, how that is really, really seen is to see that you are a story.
Yeah.
That's what it all comes down to,
Yeah.
is the sense of separateness that's there. And that narrative is the one narrative. That's
Yeah.
it. That's it. That's it. Because when there's no sense of you anymore, then there's no one else, because there's not another person over there living their life. Because how could there be if there's no sense of me here living my life?
Yeah.
Can't be. It's impossible for me to see somebody living their life if I don't feel I'm living mine.
Yeah.
So the the simplicity of it is the brilliance of it, because just like, okay, that maybe the earth isn't, the sun's not spinning around the earth. Well, okay, maybe it's the other way around. Nothing has changed, and as you said, you could model it either way if you wanted to. So it's what we're actually yearning for is just hiding in plain sight. But we're so lost in this model, our
Well, it's
overlay.
so it's such I mean, you can see the sort of passion among, let's say, good scientists that they're really going to find the truth. They're on a path, and
Yeah,
with a bigger hadron collider, we're actually going to get there and
yeah.
understand it all. And the passions. I mean, it's kind of delightful, but
There's lots of it depends what well you're drinking from these days, because there's lots of different approaches now. What you described there is very much the mainstream approach, and the one that gets a lot of funding, the one that you have to have answers, simple as that. But increasingly there's alternative narratives, increasingly quantum biology, looking at light energy, and in the body, health systems that look at light on the mitochondria. And it basically question everything. They question everything. And so they tend to be more exciting, because when everything's up for question, then I mean, if you already know everything, then you're living in your knowing, and
yeah,
but if you question everything, including the foundation of which you started from, and then that's vital, of course,
yeah,
because the whole thing is, the problem with it is full of presuppositions, and we know this and we know this and we know this, therefore this.
objectively.
So we end up, yeah, objectively, of course, and we end up like keeping we're on the wrong path, because you never question if you got on the wrong train in the first place.
No, no.
So yeah, it's
I mean, it's. I mean, I enjoy some of it. I don't get. I enjoy some of it. There's a colleague who's written a little book which basically goes against what what's his name Dawkins said about the selfish gene and the DNA is the blueprint, and basically this guy's saying it can't be a linear blueprint thing, cause and effect. It's a whole system of interaction. So it's quite interesting
yeah,
from that point of view, but it never gets beyond the mechanistic, and it's like there are Nobel laureates I've heard talking about what is life, and they get right down to the sort of biology and so on. But then someone mentions what makes life tick, and they sort of, oh, we don't do that. We can't go there. Well, they
yeah,
can't go there, so I suppose that's right.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, enough from.
No, it's nice to hear from you, Judith. Yeah, it's interesting. If it's interesting, I guess. Um, but this communication is singing the song of unknowing, really. That's essentially the shift. The shift is unknowing into unknowing, out of a sense of one who knows and everything being knowable. And that freedom cannot be described. The freedom from knowing, it's
Yeah.
indescribable. It's totally indescribable. So everything really
Good
then,
on.
it's an opinion or a story or an abstraction or a paradigm or a belief or whatever, but that's all it is then, as opposed to some reflection of some absolute truth or reality or whatever.
Yeah. It's funny. I started the Zoom and I thought, oh, I'm sure I won't be saying anything today.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Yeah, well, to see that's what I always say is I don't when I say I don't you don't know what's going to happen in 2 seconds. That's really what I mean. Like, of course there are certain patterns to everything, but like really you're residing in your sense of it's kind of there's like when you feel like you're an individual with this narrative, it's kind of like well, this is the way it is and this is what's going to happen. And when that is gone, or it's just a story, there's no sense of separateness. What's amazing is the newness. Everything is new and continually surprises in that sense, but also absolutely ordinary, you know. Yeah. One thing I came across last a couple of weeks ago, just on that different possibilities with science, and basically there's a whole area now that are basically see a human being as a light storage unit, basically. So what they're saying is what you are really is stored light. And then that light feels so solid that you abstract a sense of continuity and a sense of what you call you out of it. And then you call that your life. And then that will function as it appears to function until the stored light is not stored. In other words, you die. um and that's it. I was very interesting to hear. I hadn't really heard that kind of language used around. And one of the points, this guy is quite I have his name recorded somewhere, but I haven't got it at the top of my mind. Anyway, he was saying that there's an electrical charge in cells, between cells, there's this electrical charge, and it would equate to the voltage of a lightning strike. These are
A lightning
amazing.
strike.
A lightning strike,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Like you are not what you think you are, and the electricity and those are the ones I find more interesting to listen to. Or Michael Levin in the biology, his approach to biology is totally different, and it's moving away from that hardware stuff like you were talking about your friend and Dawkins, and it's all set in the genes approach and DNA and genes and all of this, and he's totally more into actually no, it's what you're doing is you're thinking the computer is the wires and the circuit board, and it's all about the software actually, really. So the software is energy, and so that same kind of approach is really kind of appearing in lots of different everything, really, because of course it's an energetic shift, because I think systems appear to set, and the stage, it's like a stage. The stage is set for the play, but then the play is going to come to an end, and the stage is going to have to be rejigged. And I think that's really what's appearing to happen. That's also a story, I know, but it's like yeah, a shift out of what we know into some other kind of order. So then that's been reflected in on all these disciplines as well. Is that there's a different way to see things. There's other possibilities, and then you'll see long established organizations and institutes kind of start to fall apart as well.
Or reinvent themselves. I mean, it's just
Or
more
reinvent themselves.
solution,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah, yeah. But that's always how it is anyway.
it? Nothing new under the sun.
Nothing new under the sun. Yeah, yeah. And yet everything is new, uh, that's really the at the heart of the conversation. That, as you were saying, you thought you were not going to do something, or you thought you were going to do something, or in this instance, not say anything or whatever. Um, and really, the shift is from a sense of a separate you, who lives in knowing, and then everything's not new. Then really, the newness can appear, like freshness can appear and then go again. But there's in that loop of knowing, there's a definite sense of repetition, and no, like continual, like around all different sorts of things. Like, oh, here I'm starting the week again. It's Monday again. Oh, it's hump day today. Hump day, and that has a feel to it. Oh, this is this guy again. Oh, him or her, and this situation, and oh, I know what's going to happen now, and all of this kind of stuff. And the newness isn't.
Yeah, that's still pretty strong. That yeah, I know this person. I like this person. I don't like this person. I like going there. I don't like going somewhere
Oh well,
else.
liking my preferences are okay, but it can all still be new though.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
I could still dislike somebody and try and cross the street when they appear to come. Like, oh no, but like the shift is really seeing that is unconditional love as that person. So the shift would be out of them and their whatever. Um, and the newness. I mean, there's just because it's not nothing and everything, and a sense of you living your life in time. Everything is nothing and nothing is everything. So everything is there and not there, and it's there for new and unknowable. Yeah, and that's can't be described really.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Hey, Kenneth.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. Great. So the newness is this hand turning the steering wheel, this
Yeah,
phone. Um, it's not like I'm seeing this phone. It's the phone. It's like, so it's not seeing like there isn't anyone seeing. There is just the phone. There is
yeah, yeah, yeah,
just the picture of, your face, the face,
yeah, yeah. There's just what's appearing to
the
happen. Yeah,
steering wheel. And so feeling sensation, air conditioning is it's just sensation on my skin. Um, yeah,
yeah. There's
I just
just
wanted to say something,
no,
I guess.
absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly it though. It's so ridiculously simple and ordinary.
Yeah.
There's just what's appearing to happen. And that
Mm,
everything is nothing and nothing is everything because already there's only just wholeness. That's already all there is.
yeah.
Is everything appearing as a phone in your hand, air conditioning, sitting in a seat, a thought that arises, blah blah blah, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
That's all there is. But then the the what appears to arise is a sense of a separate you that's happening to then. So then
Yeah.
that feels real when it feels real. It feels that I can feel it's my skin. I can feel the air conditioner on my skin. I'm looking at the phone. I'm looking at Kenneth. I'm talking to Kenneth. That gets more complicated then because we're interacting and we're relating to each other and how's it going or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so that whole, as we were saying, the whole niching it's a model of reality. Like you
Yeah.
are the model. And that's out of that separation, all that happens is that there's a sense of living, being the separate one who is living their life, and therefore that model is taken to be reality essentially. But then
Definitely.
that's not right or wrong. It's just what appears to happen. But when there is that appearing to happen, then there's a question
Yeah, it's
because
very uncomfortable.
yeah, it can be very uncomfortable, or it can appear to be comfortable also.
Yeah.
But those two are wedded together, obviously. So,
Mm,
but it plays out like it does, and the question is absolutely screaming at some people, and it's a little whisper for other people. It's just a little niggling whisper. But for other people, it's the only thing. It's like, what is it that I'm missing? There's something
yeah.
I'm missing. I don't know what it is. Can't put my finger on it. And then you'll hear some people talk like this and they'll say, you'll never be able to put your finger on it
Uh,
because it's not a thing and it's not your finger. It's
Yeah,
just,
it's not knowledge, all these
no.
like, these are just great conversations, but there's just at the end it's just someone that has all these like knowledge, I guess. I guess for some, maybe
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like someone,
it doesn't matter.
it's not
But
anything
it doesn't
actually.
help what like it's being sought for. Like it's what's being looked for is this like yeah,
Yeah, because I
like this
can't, like, I
oh
can't, I can't describe it, and you can't describe it to me.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
You could have gone on and on there about what you can
Yeah,
see out
yeah,
the window. The sun is
right.
shining, it's not shining.
Yeah,
There's things you have to do today. There's
yeah,
blah, this happened to you, or blah blah blah. You could just talk and talk and talk, and you would not be able to describe
right.
just simply aliveness.
Yeah.
Because it's too simple, too ordinary, and too much already the case. It can't
Mm,
be described, but
hmm.
loads of words can be used about what's apparently happening, and that's
To
fine,
point,
and
to
that's okay.
point. I mean,
Yeah, that's
points to
fine.
point
Yeah,
to it, definitely.
that's why like someone like can like there can't be some agenda here when this is shared because someone could hear this and go away even feeling more separate. Maybe
Mm,
I don't
yeah.
know. I have no idea.
Well, I have in the past, definitely,
Yeah, I
definitely.
have no
I think it's
idea.
a part of it, maybe. I don't know.
Well, it's just like all
or
there's
whatever.
just
Yeah,
this
just what happens. Yeah,
just what appears to happen because there's just a suggestion being made and it's heard as it's heard, and that's
yeah,
all it is. And it's continually said during these that there's nothing to understand, there's nowhere to get to, there's nothing to know, and actually what you're yearning for is unknowable. It's all embracing because it's whatever's going to happen. Now, someone could feel that they're trying to get something, they're trying to know it, they're trying to understand it, they're trying to have it, and that would be also what's appearing to happen. It wouldn't be, it just doesn't matter. It's just energetic. It's energetic. The sense of you is energetic.
yeah,
And it's going to run, you could call it software. It's like
yeah.
software. That software will run until it doesn't run anymore. And then when it feels like it's fully running, it doesn't feel like software. It feels it's an absolute, you are this avatar, you are this, it's a lived reality.
Mm.
um
Yeah, this morning was, um, I guess maybe one of the first times that I mean, yeah, that I just kind of woken up and it was just like, the ceiling, yada yada, the fan, rather than like fuck,
yeah,
like
yeah,
it was just like boom, for a split second, like where a lot of most times it's like, I'm up where it feels like it's right when I get up, it probably isn't. Well, I wake up and it's like I gotta, like it's just this, like yeah. Like I'm like kind of narrating myself to bring me back to like a level, or something.
yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
Like
Hey, hi Ryan.
just something coming up about choice, like uh and sort of choices happen. Um,
Yeah,
but I've had these thoughts recently that in regards to like this process, like of I don't know, like just dissolving, beliefs dissolving, tension dissolving, whatever. And there was a thought that was like it can go smoothly or it can go not smoothly. And then I was like almost like I was presented to myself with the choice. But do you want to go smoothly or do you want it to go hard? And I was
mm.
like, no, I want it to go smooth. And it felt like I could have chosen either. It didn't really matter. But like with this, it's like I could consciously go into this dissolving, or I could be dragged kicking and screaming because
Mm.
it's happening. It's happening, and it's like that saying like you're in the tiger's mouth. Um,
It's appearing to happen. So there's
mm,
that's what appeared then is um two two thoughts. They're just thinking is appearing, and there's that sensation. And that had an energy to it that kind of resonated with you there in some way, but it's all energy. And it will appear to be aliveness, wholeness will appear to be smooth, and it will appear to be incredibly painful
mm,
because it is both, obviously. So then
yeah,
then it's it's not like there's one path that's smooth and another that's rough, really, because there is no path to whatever is appearing to happen. Um, but both of those things will appear to happen.
Yeah, it's I find it fascinating because I'm interested in the psychology and the unfolding of the psychology and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's clear that there was no real choice in the sense like
yeah, I know. Yeah,
the, but there was it was almost like there was a choice being presented to an aspect of my psychology, which then had to like
yeah,
get on board with it, kind of thing. It's and
yeah.
it
I
was
know what you're saying. I kind of get a sense of what you're saying. Yeah. And also like it's up to. I think I've always kind of felt um whatever appears to happen for you is you're the person who can figure it out what it's kind of what it's
yeah,
appearing to tell you or whatever, because it's your intuition. Not that there's a you there, but it's
yeah,
that's what it is. So that's why I'm always a bit weary of people kind of handing that over to some sort of authority for someone else to interpret what's going on for them.
mm,
It's you're on shaky ground, I think, really, and it because it's your story. The story is just what the story is, and then it's up to you to tell it the way it is. And that's why sometimes it sounds like I think here that someone says something and I'm interpreting what happened. I'm not really doing that actually, because I have no idea. Um, but it's just that another kind of possibility comes up too as well.
mm,
That's all it is really. Yeah. Yeah. And you can interpret that what you said, you can kind of interpret it different ways, yeah.
yeah. It's just that it's a model, like we were saying before.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's funny too sometimes, like when some things can like come through from that I wasn't even expecting, like just come out of my mouth, and then I'm surprised that like well, I didn't know that I knew that or whatever
Mm,
any with anything, and but there's just a sort of a confidence that like whereas there's not like a doubting after like that was that right or was that not right? Sometimes stuff just comes happens and then it's like there's no questions or anything.
mm,
But it didn't come from any sort of knowing.
mm.
It just so there's no way to like take credit for like wow that was such a great thing that I just said or what or it and then it works the other way like if something when when there is self-doubt and there is like
Yeah.
stuff happening that's just not that I don't like or something there's the judgments out of it then there's no
Yeah,
sort of
yeah, yeah. Like some people talk about how they don't take praise for stuff. I've heard this a few times, people who've said the reason I don't take praise is because that's the same door as the one who tells the one that ends up, saying I'm a piece of shit and I'm
hmm
useless. It's the same energy, actually. Like, so that's why I have no interest in someone saying, "Oh yeah, I'm great. Oh, that was great, and this was great," because it's just two sides of the same coin,
hmm
really. And then I end up beating myself up. Then,
hmm
now I'm just kind of relating it to what we're saying is the extra spin I would put, the extra kind of thing I would add to that is that what I hear when someone says that is it's also energetically kind of seen, well, it's just a story. Like if someone says, "Oh, you're amazing at that," and the way you said that, and there can be like, well, I don't really have any interest in hearing that, how amazing I am, because it's actually coming from the same well as the story that says
hmm
I'm an asshole and I'm a disaster and I do everything wrong.
hmm
It could because both are actually a story.
Yeah.
Both are a story. You've never done anything because you are being done. So it's a release out of that dichotomy of you know, this is good and this is going well and this is what I should be proud of and this isn't going well and you know, I should blah blah blah, whatever. It's just what it appears to be. Sometimes it's a shit show. Really, like that's the way life is, immensely messy. And sometimes it appears to be ordered and, you know, whatever. It's just all aliveness. I mean, it's amazing to think that you've never done anything your whole life. I mean, nobody has ever done anything. It's quite remarkable, isn't it? Because
fucking right, yeah.
because there's nobody there doing anything. There's just what's appearing to happen. And you are whatever thoughts you have of yourself, be it positive or negative, whatever, you can't grasp what you are because what you are is everything. It's unconditional love. It's everything. You are everything. Everything is nothing. I mean, how could you even comprehend that? You couldn't hold that in any way, shape, or form. All you can do is have some abstraction of it, which you
Yeah,
will then
go ahead. I'm so sorry.
you will then go and play with its opposite. You're this or you're that, or you're good or you're bad or whatever.
Yeah, the how could I have like said this like feeling so stupid, but that's that energy that thinks it knows.
Yeah.
It's like how dare it, like so dumb, you know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're
But
all
it's yeah, well,
yeah. There's a huge sense of unworthiness, and we will find loads of reasons to beat up on ourselves always.
yeah, it seems like that's this kind of still a thing, maybe a lot softer. But if I say just something stupid, it's like, damn it, you know,
Mm.
should have said this instead, or shouldn't have said anything at all, you know. But it's like how, yeah, what is that? How dare? Like, I think about like how dare that like pop up, you know, in this, but it does, you know.
Yeah. It's aliveness. It'll appear as it wants to appear.
Yeah,
Well, that's even a story. It's not a thing, but it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
what's appearing to happen.
Mm.
I gotta go, guys. I'm watching the little blue tit go in and out. Like, I mean, this mother's working hard. I should count the amount of times she goes in and out. I must put up some photos for you guys. It's amazing. 5 little chicks just outside the window. Yeah.
Thanks, Kenneth.
All right, guys. Yeah, really nice to see. Will there be a Friday meeting? Um, Actually, that's funny because I was thinking of starting of doing Friday meetings. I didn't think I mentioned them. Oh yeah, there's a Friday evening meeting, not this Friday. I think it's next Friday. I'll announce it anyway because it'll be the first Friday of the month, which is the following Friday, which is the 6th of June. I think that's in person as well. Anyway, I have a load to do, get this stuff out there. Yeah. Yeah, I'll put stuff in an email. There's a few different things, and we've Munich coming up as well. Galway, Munich, and there's still some places on the residential, but I'll send out an email anyway. All right, guys, thanks a million. Great to see you.
All right, thanks,
See you.
Kenneth.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Kenneth.
Thanks, guys.